first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the reverent kind. The kind that falls over a congregation when the spirit moves and every soul in the room holds its breath in holy anticipation. This was the other kind. The kind that snaps, the kind that lands like something heavy dropped on a marble floor. One moment, Elder Tobias Whitfield was mid-sentence at the podium, his voice rising toward the ceiling of Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church the way it always did when he was building towards something. And then he simply stopped. His mouth stayed open. His eyes moved somewhere to the right of the sanctuary, and the words just left him. I was in the back row. That detail matters, and I will tell you why in a moment. But first, I need you to feel what I felt in that half second before I understood anything. The organ had been quiet for 30 seconds already. The processional was done. My husband, Bishop-elect Cedric Alston, was seated on the elevated platform in his installation regalia, white and gold, the stole still warm from the ironing. I had done that morning at 5:30 while he slept. The sanctuary held nearly 400 people. Women in white ushers and black children in their Sunday best pressed into the front pews by grandmothers who had already warned them twice. And then Elder Tobias stopped speaking. I felt the air change before I understood why it shifted the way air shifts before a storm. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just different, heavier, like pressure dropping. 3 rows in front of me, a woman in a coral hat slowly turned her head toward the side aisle. Then the woman beside her turned, then, like something rippling across water, the whole right section of the congregation began to look in the same direction. Slow, involuntary. The way you turn when something in your body tells you that what is happening over there concerns you, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. I turned too. Standing in the side aisle, not in the program, not announced, not part of anything that was supposed to happen that morning, was a woman I had never seen before. She was maybe 40. Her face was composed. In her hands, she held a phone and the screen was facing outward. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't crying. She was just standing there, holding that phone, and on the screen, enlarged, steady, impossible to misread, was a photograph. I didn't understand what I was seeing for exactly 3 seconds. Then I did. Somewhere in the congregation, one woman's voice, just one, said, "Lord." One word, that was all. In the 3rd pew from the front, a small girl in white ribbons began to cry without knowing why, the way children cry when the adults around them go suddenly, completely still. An older gentleman in the 2nd row, I didn't know him, reached up slowly and removed his hat. He didn't put it anywhere. He just held it in his lap and stared forward at nothing. My hands went cold. Not the chill of the air conditioning, which was too strong as it always was in that sanctuary. Something colder than that, a cold that comes from inside. My fingers locked around the leather cover of the journal in my lap. The journal I had found 3 days before in the inner pocket of a garment bag I pulled from the back of the closet. The journal I'd spent 2 days reading. The journal I'd carried to church that morning without knowing why, only knowing I could not leave it at home. I looked up at the platform. Cedric was looking at me. Not at the woman in the aisle, not at Elder Tobias, not at the congregation that was turning, murmuring, rearranging itself around this new and terrible gravity. He was looking directly at me, from across that long and now impossibly bright sanctuary. And what I saw in his face, what I need you to understand because it matters more than anything else, I will tell you, was not shock. It was not grief. It was not the face of a man watching his life come apart. It was calculation. He was already thinking about what came next. I need to go back. Not far. Just far enough for you to understand what this day was supposed to be. And what I was supposed to be in it. I had been a member of Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church for 22 years. I came the year after my mother passed, looking for something to hold on to. And what I found was a community that became the architecture of my adult life. I taught Sunday school for 11 years. I organized the bereavement ministry for 8. I pressed tablecloths, trained new ushers, coordinated the women's fellowship retreat every April without missing a single year. My name was not on any marquee. That was never the point. Service was never about recognition for me. It was simply what I understood love to look like in practice. Cedric had joined the church 4 years after me. He was a deacon's son from Memphis, educated, articulate, with a bass voice that filled a room naturally, and a way of leaning in when he listened that made people feel chosen. We married in that very sanctuary on a Saturday in late September. I wore my grandmother's pearls. Elder Tobias performed the ceremony. There were 300 people in attendance. For 17 years, we were what people called a pillar couple. That is a specific thing in a black church. It means your marriage has become a kind of evidence, a demonstration that the community's values hold and produce something real. People pointed to us. Young women in the congregation would ask me, quietly, how we made it work. I always said the same thing: prayer, patience, and paying attention. I believed every word of it. What I did not know, what the journal taught me in those 2 days of silent, airless reading at my kitchen table while Cedric traveled to Atlanta for what he told me was a pastor's conference, was that the attention had been flowing in directions I had never imagined. The journal was not a diary in any conventional sense. It was more like a ledger, dates, initials, notes written in his precise, seminary-trained hand. Some of the entries went back 4 years. Others were recent enough to still feel warm. I had not confronted him before that morning. I had sat with what I knew and let it settle into me the way water settles into stone. Not violent, not loud, but complete. And then I had ironed his installation stole at 5:30 in the morning and driven us both to the church in the car we had shared for 9 years. And I had let him walk through the front doors while I slipped around to the side entrance and taken a seat in the very last row of the sanctuary. He had not asked why I wasn't in the front. He had not asked about the journal. He had not noticed it was gone from the garment bag. I did not know who the woman in the aisle was. I learned later, much later, after the institutional processes had done their solemn and necessary work, that she was a woman named Renata, and that her name appeared in the journal 11 times. I learned that she had not come to the church that morning to make a scene. She had come because she had been told, through a chain of events I will not fully reconstruct here, that someone inside that congregation had been protecting Cedric from accountability for years, and she had decided she would not be silent while they installed him as bishop. What she did was simple. She stood in the aisle. She held up the photograph. She did not say a word. She didn't need to. Elder Tobias found his voice after perhaps 45 seconds, which is a long time when 400 people are holding their breath. He asked, with pastoral authority, for order. He asked the ushers to assist the woman in the aisle. He asked for a brief recess. And then, Because Elder Tobias had been a man of God for 40 years and understood that some things, once seen, cannot be managed, only processed. He bowed his head at the podium and prayed. Not a performing prayer, a real one. The kind where the person praying is also asking. Cedric did not move from his chair on the platform for the entirety of that recess. I sat in the back row with the journal in my hands, and I did not move either. A woman named Laverne, who had sat behind me in the women's fellowship for a decade, who made the best sweet potato pie I had ever tasted, and who always smelled of lavender powder, reached forward in the pew and placed her hand on my shoulder. She didn't say anything. She just left it there, warm and steady, until the recess ended. That hand, I will never forget it as long as I live. The recess lasted 19 minutes. When Elder Tobias returned to the podium, he made a brief and careful announcement. The installation would not proceed that afternoon. A convening of the pastoral council and deacon board would take place within the week. He asked for prayer for the Alston family. He asked for prayer for the congregation. He led a closing hymn, "I Need Thee Every Hour." And I sat in that back pew and let the voices of those 400 people wash over me like something I couldn't name, but needed badly. I drove home alone. Cedric arrived 2 hours later. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. I hadn't touched the journal, was on the table between us, in the open. He looked at it for a long time. "How long have you had that?" he said. 3 days, I said. What followed was not the confrontation you might expect. There was no raised voice. There was no plea for forgiveness, not a real one, not that night. What there was instead was something more painful in some ways and more clarifying, the slow, methodical unwinding of a story he had been carrying for years, told in pieces and then in larger pieces, until the full shape of it was visible. There were 3 women over 8 years. Renata was the most recent, one of the others. A woman whose initials in the journal were CW had been a member of our own congregation for 2 years before quietly transferring to another church. I had sat beside her at the women's fellowship retreat. I had helped her through a difficult season with her mother's illness. I had prayed with her by name. I sat at that table, and I let myself understand all of it. I did not scream. I did not throw anything. I am not telling you that to make myself sound noble. I am telling you that because by then, the grief had already moved through me in those 2 days of reading. What was left was something more quiet and more permanent, something like clarity. When he finished, I told him he could sleep in the guest room. He did. The pastoral council convened on a Wednesday evening, 6 days after the installation service. I was not in that meeting, and I did not ask to be. What I know is what Elder Tobias told me afterwards, seated in his office with his wife, Sister Eunice, beside him. What I know is that the process was thorough, solemn, and concluded without drama. The deacon board reviewed what had been brought before them. Character witnesses were considered. Cedric was given the opportunity to speak. He did speak. And then the board withdrew to deliberate, and when they returned, they rendered their decision. Cedric Alston would not be installed as Bishop of Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church. His position as elder was suspended pending a full review process. He was asked to step back from all public ministry responsibilities for a period of no less than 1 year. The decision was communicated to the congregation through a written statement read aloud on the following Sunday by Elder Tobias. in a service that was quiet and heavy and honest in the way. And only hard things can produce honesty. I was present for that reading. I sat in the same back row. I want to be precise about how I felt in that moment, because it matters. I did not feel triumph. I did not feel relief in the way you feel relief when something painful ends. What I felt was the weight of it, the full weight of what it costs a community to choose its stated values over the comfort of pretending. I watched the faces of the congregation during that reading, and what I saw was grief, collective, honest grief. The kind that a community feels when it looks at itself clearly and recognizes the distance between who it claimed to be and what it had allowed. That grief, I will tell you, is not comfortable, but it is the beginning of something. Cedric left the area within 3 weeks. He went back to Memphis. We began the legal process of divorce quietly, without the courts of public opinion. I will not say more about that. What I want to tell you about now is what happened in the weeks after. The phone call from Sister Anita came on a Tuesday morning. Anita was the president of the Women's Fellowship, organized, no nonsense. The kind of woman who had survived things and showed it only in the steadiness of her hands. She called not to offer pity, but to ask me something direct. Was I coming to the next fellowship meeting? And if I was, would I be willing to share whatever I was comfortable sharing, so that the women could pray specifically and not generally? I told her I would come. I came. And what happened at that table, around those 12 women who had known me for years, was the most honest prayer meeting I've ever been part of. Nothing performed, nothing managed. Just women sitting together in the truth of something hard and choosing to hold each other inside it. Sister Lorraine, who was 73 years old and had been a member of Greater Mount Zion since before I was born, left a meal on my porch the following Friday. A full pan of baked chicken, a covered dish of green beans, cornbread, and foil. There was no note. There didn't need to be. I stood at my door in the late afternoon and I held that pan in my hands and I let myself cry for the first time since I had sat at my kitchen table with that untouched tea. Sister Rochelle, who was 46 and worked as a school administrator and had 3 teenagers and was one of the busiest women I knew, saved my seat at the Sunday service 3 weeks in a row. Just put her hand on the pew beside her when she saw me coming down the side aisle and looked up and nodded. Nothing more than that. But those 3 Sundays, that hand on that pew, meant that there was still a place for me here, that I had not become the cautionary tale, that I was still, simply, one of them. Those gestures, the hand on my shoulder, the meal on the porch, the safe seat, were not small things. They were the community doing what communities are made to do when they are functioning as they should. They were reassembling themselves around the truth, rebuilding the circle around the person who had been most harmed, making her visible again. There is something else I need to tell you, because it is part of this story, and it is important. About a month after the installation service, I received a visit from a woman named Charlene, who had attended Greater Mount Zion for a brief period about 4 years prior. She had transferred to a church on the other side of town, quietly, with no explanation given. And I had always assumed, as people generally do, that she had simply found a community that suited her better. She came to my door on a Sunday afternoon. She asked if she could come in. I made coffee. We sat. What she told me was simple, and she told it plainly. During the 2 years she had been at Greater Mount Zion, my husband had made her feel consistently, persistently uncomfortable. She had never been able to name it in a way that felt speakable. It was the way he looked at her, the way he found reasons to speak to her privately after services, the way those conversations always drifted gently but unmistakably somewhere she did not want to go. She had transferred churches because it was easier than naming something she was not sure she could prove. She was not looking for anything from me. She was not asking me to do anything. She said, "I just needed you to know that you didn't miss something that was obvious." He was very careful. And I think for a long time, the institution made it easy for him to be careful. I thanked her. I meant it completely. What Charlene gave me in that living room was something I had not known I needed. Confirmation that this was not a story about my failure to pay attention. It was a story about what happens when institutions protect the reputation of powerful men over the safety and dignity of the women who serve faithfully beside them. It was a story about the careful work of concealment, and about how hard it is to name something in a community where the one doing harm is also the one holding the microphone. I have thought about Charlene many times since I have thought about the other women, named and unnamed, who did what she did, which was simply remove themselves from proximity to harm because the alternative felt impossible. I think about how much courage it takes to name something you can't prove in a community that has given itself reasons not to hear it. I think about the cost of that silence, not a moral failure, but a practical impossibility, and about what it would mean for communities of faith to build the kind of trust that makes naming possible before the installation service, before the photograph in the aisle, before the back row.
Good to see everyone.
And the hidden journal.
You as well. Glad we could all make it.
The weather is
These
just
are not
perfect
comfortable
for it.
thoughts. I am
Yes,
not
a beautiful
offering
day
them
for fellowship.
as condemnation of Greater Mount Zion, which has been my home for 22 years, and which, in the end, did the hard thing I am offering them as the truth that sits beside the story. The thing that makes this more than a personal account of one woman's bad Sunday. The rebuilding happened slowly, the way real rebuilding always does.
Eu preparei isso com tanto amor, mas dói tanto entregar.
I did not
Nós
emerge
entendemos.
from what
Obrigado por
happened.
isso.
É difícil ver
In any
vocês irem, mas sei que é
triumphant way.
necessário.
Vamos nos
There
lembrar
was no
sempre
morning
disso
I
com todo o
woke
nosso
up and
coração.
felt healed. There was no single prayer, no single conversation, no single Sunday that turned everything around. What there was instead was the accumulation of ordinary grace. The women's fellowship table, Laverne's hand on my shoulder, Anita's direct question, Lorraine's baked chicken, Rochelle's hand on the pew. The slow return of myself to myself, witnessed by the people who had known me before. I kept my seat in the back row for several months, not because I was ashamed. I had done nothing to be ashamed of, but because the distance felt right. The back row is where you can see everything. It is where you sit when you are learning how to look at something again without flinching. There came a Sunday, some months later, when Sister Anita moved back through the congregation during the offertory and sat down beside me and said, without preamble, "You can come up front again whenever you're ready. Your seat is there." I moved back up front the following Sunday. I will not tell you it felt the same. It didn't. Nothing feels the same after something like this. But different is not lesser, and returned is not the same as restored. Restoration is something fuller and harder won and quieter than the word usually suggests. What I found in the pew I had occupied for 22 years was not my old life. It was something new that had grown from the soil of the old one, tended by the hands of women who had chosen to stay present while the hard season moved through. That is what a community of faith is made to do. It does not always do it. Greater Mount Zion did not always do it. But in this season, in this particular reckoning, it did. And I am a witness to that. I want to close with something I have turned over in my mind many times. Since that Sunday afternoon at the kitchen table, since the back row, since the baked chicken and the saved seat and the cup of tea I never drank. There is a cost to a community that chooses truth over comfort. That cost is real, and it is not small. It means looking at something you have built, a reputation, a legacy, a marriage held up as evidence, and acknowledging that the evidence was incomplete. It means the grief of disillusionment, which is a particular kind of grief because it lives right beside love. You can love a place deeply and still grieve what it allowed. Those two things are not opposites. They live in the same chest. But there is also what truth restores. When a community chooses to stand on its stated values, even when that standing is costly, even when it means removing someone with a title and a stole and a voice that filled the room, what it restores is the trust of the quiet ones, the women who serve without marquees, the women in the back rows, the women who transferred churches because naming felt impossible. What it restores is the possibility that the community means what it says, that the faith it professes shapes the choices it makes, that the women who give everything are not the last to be protected. That restoration is not loud. It doesn't come with a ceremony or a processional. It comes in a hand on a shoulder, a pan of baked chicken, a seat saved 3 Sundays in a row. It comes in the slow return of a woman to her place in the community. She built with her hands and her years and her faithfulness, not triumphant, but witnessed, not alone, but held. And the truth shall make you free. I have always known that verse. I did not always know that the freedom it describes is not individual. It is communal. It belongs to everyone who is willing to stand inside it, even when standing was costly. If this story touched something in you, if it reached a place you've been carrying quietly, I want you to know that you are not alone in that pew. Whatever back row you're sitting in right now, you are seen. Leave a comment below. Share this with a woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel, because we will keep telling these stories. The ones that are true, the ones that are hard, the ones that remind us that dignity does not disappear when someone tries to take it from you. It waits. It endures. And when the community finally stands up around the truth, it is still there.